Kaylee's out. And she says, Mom, I'll talk to you, but let's get Amy home. So we drove Amy home, which is over to the Glenwood area. Didn't even think about that when I gave him that address. They were just telling me where to go off of Bumby. I didn't even realize that was the area. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't go down to that area. I don't know what the street names were. And I was just following turn here, turn here, turn here, because I'm trying to talk to the girls. We were just chit-chatting about other things, and I'm trying to get Casey to tell me some stuff, but her and Amy were just kind of, not talking a whole lot.
Where were they sitting in the car?
Casey was in the front seat, Amy was in the back seat, so Amy was behind me because the car seat we all have a car seat.
Yeah.
Kaylee's car seat's on the passenger
side.
side, behind the passenger side, which I feel is the safest place to be.
Right.
So that's where it was. So Amy naturally went behind me, and Casey was right next to me.
Okay, were they talking the whole time?
Not really. Didn't say a lot, and truthfully, I can't remember their conversations because it didn't stand out to me, and it really wasn't anything that I was concentrating on. So right now, I can't remember specifics. I can't even remember exactly what I said to Casey during that ride home.
When you dropped Amy off, did you drop her off at her apartment or in front of the apartment?
I dropped her off in front of the apartment complex, which was off of Bumby, and I believe that's the location, one of the locations where Casey had taken the detectives.
Okay.
Okay. Again, I'm not sure specifically which apartment Amy and Ricardo are living in, but I do want to share a conversation I had with Amy on the way to pick up Casey, which is very pertinent, because I asked her myself. I said, Amy, there was a change of address sent to our house, with your name on it, and can you tell me why that is when we're driving to pick up Casey? And she says, well, Mrs. Anthony, she said, Casey and I were going to move into your house. I said, excuse me? She goes, yeah. She says, we were going to be roommates, you and your husband. She said, I heard you guys were having issues and you were going to, we were going to move in together and be roommates. And you were going to, get an apartment or something close to where you work in Winter Park. And I said, Amy, that's not true.
However, that would explain why she had sent that.
It would send that, right. And
so she believed it to be true.
Well, that's what she said. Yes, that's what she says. She believed it to be true. And she says, I'm homeless. And I says, what do you mean you're homeless? I said, I thought you were living, I thought you have an apartment. She says, well, I'm living with Ricardo. He's my roommate. Didn't really think much of it at that point, her saying that. I mean, I heard of Ricardo as one of Casey's friends, realized that they had been seeing each other a little bit, and did not know that Ricardo's apartment was actually what Casey was referring to as the babysitter, Zanny's apartment.
I'm still a little bit confused.
I know you are.
Clarify for me.
I know you are.
Why you think at this point that Ricardo's apartment is Zanny's apartment?
Because Casey stated that picture of Kaylee was in the apartment of Zanny, which I'm thinking Zanny could be a generic name for the babysitter. Someone that was watching Kaylee for the day.
What is Amy's last name?
Here, you can have this. I think it's
Heisinger.
Heisinger.
Zanny. How long has she and Amy known each other, as far as you know?
I don't know. Amy, like I said, Amy's actual name started coming up maybe April, May in conversation. And nothing, before that, it was not a whole, it was just somebody she talked about. Again, it wasn't a red flag for me to think or take notes. Right. So.
Did you ask Casey if she told Amy that you guys were having problems and that she could move into the house?
No, I really didn't. Okay. Because at that point, I didn't see the relevance of it. When I found out that Kaylee was missing, my whole focus was on why and where and why didn't we talk about it and blah, 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 blah. And then when Casey and I actually had a few hours in the morning, our focus was on getting the word out, so we created the MySpace and started making phone calls to our friends that were in college to start putting word out that Kaylee was missing.
Okay.
So, I mean, we shift total gears because I figured the sheriff's had her all night long. She was exhausted. I wanted to find out, I don't know how to work on the computer on MySpace, things like that,
right.
And to get the information out. And I told her, I said, why don't we create a MySpace page for Kaylee so that it can network throughout all of MySpace, you can touch people all over the place. Because the sheriff's department had told me in the wee hours of the early morning of Wednesday the 16th that they were going to make a missing persons report first thing. We actually were looking all day on the news waiting for that report. They said they were going to notify the FBI. They said they were going to do this, and this, and it never happened. We didn't. The first time we heard that Kaylee was a missing person was when we saw Casey's picture. They didn't even tell us that they had taken her into custody. We knew she had gone down there for questioning until we saw the news that Casey was, you know, like with everybody else. It was shocking. That's the first time they had shown Kaylee's picture as a missing person.
Mm-hmm.
That was another kind of a red flag, I might want to say, with the sheriffs, because they had promised us that they would report a missing child because she was missing regardless whether or not Casey was telling the truth or not. Kaylee was not a person that we knew where she was at. So.
Right.
And I still believe that she should have been reported as a missing child. And again, it's hindsight, it's behind us and whatever. It's too late to go back and change things. But that's been a concern of mine from day one. Precious hours. Precious hours. And again, if I know now what I knew then, I would have gone right to Amy and asked her specific questions or had the police ask her specific questions.
I want you to keep something in mind.
I am.
Looking at it from the outside. The precious hours that you're referring to are precious hours from the time that you found out she was missing.
I know, and
The
not
detectives are looking at it from when the
I
child
understand
was.
that. I understand that, and I know back too. We've lost a whole month, and that's why I think the month's conversation that Casey's had with me is going to shed some. Is actually going to help bring us closer. And that's what, you know, she made a comment to me, and I wasn't really sure what she meant. Like I said, I thought what she was talking about. They went to Tampa and they went to. Jacksonville, that was the key. It's not the key, it's things that they were doing, and I'm more sure of it now than ever. She refers to the week of the 14th. I'm going to tell you where Casey said that they were at. The 14th, Casey said they were crashing at Zanny's apartment that night, the 14th. That's why they didn't come home. They were crashing at Zanny's. I have not yet to find out from Ricardo or Amy if Kaylee and those guys were at that apartment. I'm still not certain exactly what day Tony took her in. I'm not sure. But she said Kaylee was at Zanny's apartment. I think that's the key. Okay? Maybe not Casey and her, but Kaylee was at Zanny's apartment.
Amy told you this.
No, Casey, I'm trying to focus on now what Casey had told me in our conversations over the last month where they were at, because she wanted me to focus. And then I'll make the references to where I think this needs to go as far as what she said when she was talking to me in the conversations. She was telling me that Kaylee was with different people, Zanny and her roommate, through this whole, and that when the roommate came into it, I'm thinking, oh my God, are we talking about Ricardo? Or are we talking about Amy? But I think it's the pair of them. There's something between this. All of this makes sense. I don't want you to think I'm nuts.
I don't think you're nuts. I think you have a lot going through your mind.
I have a lot going through my mind. I wish I had more time to process it. I'm trying to process as it makes sense to me. Casey told me the 14th that she had a lot of work to do, that it was better for Kaylee and her to stay at Zanny's. So whether or not Casey was at Zanny's, she was telling me in a conversation that Kaylee was at Zanny's or the babysitters that night on the 14th. She also told me that the next night...
You took that to mean Ricardo's.
Well, now I am. Not at that point. I was taking it as Zenaida Fernandez Gonzalez.
Okay.
But now I'm not sure if Zenaida Fernandez Gonzalez is Zanny. You know what I'm saying? In the real sense of that's the actual name. I think Zanny is the reference to the babysitter. Okay? She told me on Wednesday, which would have been the 15th, Wednesday would have been the 16th. I don't have a calendar in front of me. That they went to 2 nights that they crashed at Zanny's, that Zanny was watching Kaylee. That on Wednesday they were staying at Hard Rock. And I'm not sure what the Hard Rock Hotel has to do with anything. I haven't figured that out yet. But I'm not sure if she's telling me the rock band thing or whatever. I'm not sure if that's part of it or not. But there was a reference to Hard Rock Hotel.
On the 16th.
Yeah, which was...
She said it was she and Kaylee.
Yes. And she also said the babysitters.
All of them were together.
All